Hello everyone and welcome back to my sewing room. If you're new to my channel, my name's Diane and I like to share with you the things I've been making, usually quilts or quilt related. This week though, I've been working on some whips. It's been crazy in our household. We've had a new boiler system fitted and we knew it was going to be chaotic, and it was. But I also knew that I had some pieces of time. It might be a bit sporadic, but I knew I'd be able to come into my sewing room on some days and make some things. And so I thought that would be a perfect opportunity to just sort of dip in and out of my whips. So if you saw my video at the start of the year where I said I would like to participate in Christmas in July, and I started making some quilts, 4 quilts. So I thought this week I would work on those, and I'm sort of thinking it might be a good idea if I do a little bit of work on them each month. So if you saw my video where I made the heart quilt, I was sort of quite keen on making the hearts. I enjoyed that process. And when I was taking fabric from my stash to have a look for the colours to use in the quilt, I thought, I know I've got some of this red fabric left and I could use some of the red fabric that I'd used in the hearts to make some hearts for my Christmas row quilt. In the beginning I was wondering whether if I did a complete row of hearts, whether that might be a little bit too much. And I thought I might put some on-point squares in between the hearts. But then when I put them on the design wall, I thought, no, I will make a row of hearts to go in the row quilt, and I will also make a row of on-point squares. And so that's what I did. I did 2 rows of those, and then I thought I'll use up some of the scraps of fabric that I've got left, and I think I might be using some square within a square. These blocks finish at 3 inches, and I'm thinking I might use some white and red ones alternating in the row quilt. And then I thought I'll work on the medallion quilt. Now that's going to be a traditional sort of quilt, and at Christmas time I'd got a bit keen on making the medallion quilt, and so I thought with that one I'd already cut out the fabric to go on the next row round, and so I thought I'll just sew that one together, and I did add that. So that's growing nicely now. I've got a couple ideas for where I want to go on the next part of the medallion quilt. I'll make my mind up perhaps next month. I'll have a look again. Probably not February. In February, my sister is coming over. She lives in Spain and she's coming over to spend some time with us. And so we'll be out and about doing different things. So I probably won't work on the whips, the Christmas whips, in February. But in March, I'll have a look again at the medallion quilt and have a look where I might go with that one. And then I thought I'll make another house for my house quilt. Very similar to the first one that I made, just using up different scraps of fabric that I've got, Christmassy themed fabric. So I made another house. And then I thought it'd be nice to put different characters in the windows. So in the first house, there's a Christmas tree in the window and a Santa in the doorway. And so on this one, I've got some Christmas themed fabric with mice in. So I thought I'll put those in the window and in the doorway. And I've sort of got that idea now. I might make a house quilt with all different creatures in the door and the window. So that's my plan at the moment. If you've seen any of my fabric hauls, you'll know that I've got some penguins and I've got some snowmen, so they can go in, and I'll have a look and see if I can pick up any more bits of themed Christmas fabric to put little characters inside the drawers. And then I thought I would make another snowman to go on my snowman quilt. Somebody had bought me this lovely Christmas card with a family of snowmen on, and again I have no idea how this quilt will look. I was thinking reds, whites and blues predominantly, perhaps with a sprinkling of green in for this quilt. And so I thought I'll make a mother snowman to go with the Mr. Snowman. And this one I tried a little bit of reversed applique for her, and on the Mr. Snowman I'd put some button eyes for his face and some embroidery on his face for his mouth and his nose, and so I did the same for her. So that's it, that's the 4 whips. So that was all the sewing that I did towards the Christmas in July. And then I used up scraps of fabric and made some squares within squares to go in my squares within square quilt that I'm working on. And I also made some of these lovely little parts, the start of a sort of log cabin. And I put that on the design wall. I hadn't joined any of the blocks together because I want it to be sort of all the fabrics to be well spaced out in this quilt. But I did decide when I was in here sewing that I would put 8 blocks together. So there are a 4 and a 4. So they're little rectangles now. But I've still got some spare blocks that I haven't joined together yet because I'll be replicating colours. So that's everything that I've done in this sewing this week. And this part of the video I will share with you what else I've been doing. So I've got my little bird cup this week, and so grab yourselves a little drink. I've got a cake in there as well, carrot cake. I'll start off with that, with the Big Bird Watch. I've been doing the Big Bird Watch in the UK for lots and lots of years now, and when my grandchildren were younger they used to join me. We used to sit in the potting shed, and one of the traditional things is to get yourself a nice warm drink and to have some treats. And so it was only me doing the Big Bird Watch this week in our household, and so I thought I would treat myself. So I made a small coffee and walnut cake, and so I sat by the window inside. It was a dreadful day. The weekend wasn't great for the bird watch, but I'm sure that they take all of the weather conditions and things into consideration when they're looking at the data. I had the grand total of 2 wood pigeons and 2 magpies. You were only allowed to count the birds that land in your garden, and they both visited, well, the 4 of them in pairs, visited the bird bath, and they had a little root around in the soil. There are 2 reasons, well 3 reasons probably, why I didn't see very many birds in that hour. Firstly, the weather conditions weren't great. I looked at the weather forecast and I sat for the hour where it looked the better of the weather. We've, like lots of us around the world, we've had some adverse weather conditions to deal with. Yeah, so the weather played part of it. The garden work that we've done, we've disturbed, the usual feeding grounds of the birds in our garden. And the third factor, I think, might have interfered with the birds was we had a sparrowhawk flying overhead repeatedly. So anything that was there was hiding very well because I couldn't see any. I did hear some chirping around. I could hear a robin, but I couldn't see him, and you're meant to see them. So it is a bird watch and not bird listen. So that was it. 4 birds. And I will insert some pictures of the hellebore buds that are coming out. I did get out into the garden and tidy some of the rotting leaves that were over the top of the buds. There's lots of bulbs coming up, lots of shoots. I'm trying to maintain this wildlife gardening, and so I don't want to tidy it too much, and so that's it in the garden. But look at this. I have been putting a little bit of liquid seaweed in this. I put it against the design wall there. and they're growing fantastically well. I'm very pleased, and you can see now there are buds, flower buds in all of the tulips in the heads. These are meant to be pink. It says Salmon Dream. Whether they'll turn pink, I don't know. They're looking very pale at the moment. There is a little tinge of something in the top of that one, but I don't know. But look, they're healthy anyway. When they're finished, I will put them in the garden, and I leave them a couple of years, and if they don't flower then I dig them out, but I do give them an opportunity. But these come back every year. Look, I bought these last week, and again I've been putting a little bit of seaweed. These were poor little specimens, but they're nice and hard, the bulbs, and they're swelling nicely, and you can see they've all got a flower bud in, so they look nice and healthy as well. So those are the flower buds. What else? Still keeping up with my diary. So I've been writing out there, boiler man, boiler man, boiler man. Mess. Upside down, cold, no heating, no hot water. But today, he's finished this morning, and I've just had a tidy round. That's why I'm looking a little bit worse for wear. I need a spa day. Don't really do spa days, but that's what I could do with. So I worked on my Christmas whips. Now, Nancy Saunders, Simply Quilting with Nancy Saunders. I watch her. Sometimes she's been watching my show, and sometimes if you have got a YouTube channel and you comment, then, and I can see that you have your own YouTube, I tend to go and have a little look as well. And I looked at Nancy's this week, and she's doing Quilt Along with Jessica Rayon. And I didn't know anything about Jessica Rayon, so I went from Nancy's, I watched Nancy's, and then I looked at Jessica Rayon that Nancy mentioned. It's a mystery quilt along. I've only done one quilt along before, and that was with Sherry McGill on Lessons Learned, and I really enjoyed that process. I made a small quilt for Project Linus. I'm not sure how big this quilt's going to be. I don't want to make a huge quilt. 2 videos out so far, and she's shown you 2 blocks in each of the videos. She envisages that the quilt along will last for 11 weeks. 9 of those weeks you're going to be making blocks. There's 16 blocks in all, and then the last weeks will be putting the borders on, putting the quilt together. And so before I jump into that one, I will have a look at the blocks first. I think I might do that, so I'm looking at that. And then today, after I started cleaning up, my room is still all over the place. The room's not big enough for all my stuff really. I keep trying to make it fit. But while I was waiting for the man to finish, I've scribbled a little design. And I wrote, to start with, vintage style medallion quilt. I'll show you the fabric. I've just pulled some fabric. Last week I shared with you I'd bought this beautiful Dancing Dahlias. I'll put a notice on who it's by, all this fabric range. So I've been collecting small bits. That came last week, and of course now it's orange and I'm itching to use it. This one I thought I might use as the backing. It's a wide back, this one, and there's enough for the backing, so I thought that could be the backing. And then there's this beautiful rich blue, which I love the look of those together. And then I've got a grey and a white. So I think that might make a nice background. And then I've got this paler. It just says Dancing Dahlias Pale. That features pinks and golds and the aqua and the blues. And then there's the dark Dancing Dahlias, the dark. And I like the way that's working together. And then I've also got some of this Benetex Celestial Skies. Excuse me if you can hear a noise, that's my stomach growling. I haven't eaten yet. What time is it? 2:30. I need to go and get that cake. Celestial Skies Benetex. So I've got a soft, like bubblegum pink. Lovely. And there's a glitter in that. And I just think the shape of it works well with those dancing dahlias. They are moons, I think. Planets, yeah. Little faces or suns. You can see better on this darker one. So I've got a darker purple in that as well. And you can see there, hopefully. And then there's a sort of magenta in it. But I think that would look nice. So, thinking that. Oh, got something else to show you. So to escape the madness, I went into town because I shared with you last week I made a robin on Marion's World. She's a lady in the north of England, and I've decided that I'm going to join her. And so she's making little 3D things. The first one was a bird. I made a robin. I don't know what's coming next. I don't know if Marion knows what's coming next. I'm not sure. She seems to be inspired by something and then starts to create it. A little bit like myself, so I'm not putting any pressure to know what's happening, in the future. But I thought I would go and see if I could get some crewel wool. So Marion, when she created her embroidery, she used some crewel wool. And I haven't been embroidering for many years, so I have nothing. I have some embroidery cotton threads, floss. So I have got quite a bit of that, and that's it, nothing else. We've got quite a few charity shops or thrift shops, so I thought I would go into town and have a look and see if they had anything that I could use. So I started off going into the first thrift shop. We have got a fibre shop in town that sells wools and yarns, and so that was where I was heading. And so on the way to our yarn shop, where I was hoping that they would have some crewel wool, I went into the first charity shop, and there was this in a cabinet, and I wondered, I asked, "Excuse me, can you tell me, is that threads?" Because I was hoping I'd got a treasure full of different sorts of threads in this embroidery box. It wasn't, but it was treasure. I mean, look how beautiful it is. It's a lovely box, and I will show it you. The lady showed it me and said, "Oh no, it isn't, but it is beautiful." And so that is the gubbins inside this box. All the things I need to assemble a beautiful cake stand. Look, there's a little ceramic bird with a bow on the top. And these are the plates. You just screw the pieces together. So that's the top. Isn't it beautiful? And then this is the second tier. That one. I just love the colours. And then the third one is this one. Who's it by? Pip Studios. So I was going for thread, hoping to thrift some, but no, I didn't. So I'm looking forward now to the summer, having a nice little afternoon tea in the garden and having cakes. You can tell I'm tired. I don't eat cakes that often, but I'm just thinking cakes. Give me cakes. I need some energy. It's carrot cake in the kitchen waiting for me. So that's one of my 5 a day. It's got lots of nuts in. I made it. I know what's in it. It's got lots of sultanas and spices and nuts. So yes, Pip Studios. So I bought that, beautiful bargain, so I'll have that. And then while I was rummaging in the charity shop, I bought a book, Mary Thomas's Dictionary of Embroidery Stitches. And it is fantastic, very clear, and every sort of embroidery stitch that you could ever need, ever want, more than all about threads, outline stitches, and the illustrations are very clear. So I bought that, and while I was rummaging around in the odds and ends box, there was a pattern, it's unopened, and I thought, oh, I might have a go at doing that. They recommend that you use faux suede or faux leather, but I think that would look nice quilted. But then I saw this as well. Human Universe Forces of Nature, and this, if you'd have bought this book new, it costs £40. I haven't started it yet, I'm just finishing the book that I'm on. And if you're interested in how the planets are formed and the universe and the earth and all of those sorts of things, I mean, it's really lovely. All the illustrations in there, all sorts of information that I just like. I love anything spacey. And also my son and I, he's bought the tickets, well, we've paid for our own tickets, but he said, would you like to come? And I certainly would. Professor Brian Cox is visiting Birmingham in October on his global tour, and I've heard so many fantastic reviews for that tour. So there's all sorts of there's a talk, and there's also images from the James Webb telescope, and there's music that accompanies them, and a bit of something to be awed by. So that was my fantastic charity haul. So then I went into the yarn shop. She did have some embroidery threads, but she didn't have anything else. But she did have some of these little yarn for what do you call it? I don't know if Marion's going to be sewing a bird next, but I thought I've got a base there. So I bought those, and then just as I was leaving, this caught my eye. It was just in the box next to those. I think of that as being sort of hedgerowy colours. But like I say, I don't know what I'll be doing, but that's a nice piece of yarn. So I think that's all the news from my sewing room this week. Hopefully next week I'll have started on this quilt. I don't know what to call it now. I'm thinking Celestial because I've got the Flying Cox things, and that's called Celestial, but Celestial Dancing Dahlias, I don't know. So I might have started on that. So I think that's it now for this week. There's nothing else I can think of. The weather's picked up, it's looking a little bit brighter out there. Not that I've got the energy to go out, but wherever you are, I hope the weather is improving and your lives are getting back to what you want them to be if you've been hit by them in an adverse way. So with that in mind, look after yourself, enjoy your sewing, enjoy whatever you're doing, and we'll see what's the mystery of these. Do you think they're going to be pink? And I will see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.